takes courage.
It takes devotion.
It takes grit.
It takes
and
determination.
It takes hard work.
It takes perseverance.
I'm ready. I'm not.
I'm Kira Anderson. I'm the director and choreographer of the 25th Annual Putnam County Spelling Bee, and I'm also the drama teacher here at St. Francis High School. I just finished my 5th year teaching. This is my 6th year teaching drama, and I really love it. So the audition process is an opportunity for me to see all of the actors, to assess their skills, their strengths, and where they might fit into the production. First, the students will come in and sing a song for us.
My name is Stella Kinney. I am now a junior at St. Francis High School, and I will be singing Notice Me Martin from School.
And then I usually, if it's a musical, we'll have them learn a short dance combination. For this particular audition, I did an improv game because this show requires actors who are exceptional comedians and also are able to think on their feet and think quickly and be funny in the moment.
I felt nervous walking in. I felt nervous walking out. But walking into auditions, I was really jittery, and walking out of auditions, I think I was just disappointed.
It was kind of overwhelming, because I had just gotten to my classes, just meeting everyone again and my teachers. But at the same time, it was kind of calming because I got to do what I loved about being at school on the second day of school. So it was kind of cool, but also kind of just stress.
So sometimes after the initial audition process, I have a really clear picture in my mind of who I want to be in the cast. I've never walked into an audition room and had anything precast in my mind. I always try to be a blank slate. Perfect for this, but after the initial first 2 days of auditions, there were a couple people I was really clear on. For example, Faith, she was the only actor that I called back for the character of Barfay. After seeing everybody who showed up at auditions, I just knew she was absolutely perfect for that role. But every single other role, I had 2 to 4 actors that all would have been fabulous. And that's why the callbacks are so important. Callbacks happen after we do the initial auditions. And that's where the creative team and I really start to figure out the puzzle that is the cast. We start to look at who might be able to do which role.
Thank you.
I ask them to read from the show, read dialogue from the show. I might pair them up together and it's almost, they call it a chemistry read, where I'm looking to see which actors are really gelling together and make sure that the energy in the cast is balanced and matched.
I can't believe it! Thank you. Very good, thank you.
And we may dance them again to see, really where their strengths are and how we might be able to really use those strengths and those talents in the final production.
We started talking about Spelling Bee, I want to say maybe April of last school year. Then we all went our separate ways, talked about it, figured it out on our own, then came back and we started talking for real about it in July. Then we went off on break for summer. Then we came back and I had a set design to show off probably around mid-August. So my concept for this was to make a cartoon.
one of our initial concepts for Jeremy and myself was to make the set look almost cartoonish and childlike and playful, because a lot of the play happens in the minds of the spellers, who are, young people in their, like 4th through 8th grade. So I really loved that concept. I thought it was fun and really appropriate. So that was something that stayed consistent throughout. But then within that framework, Jeremy and I had a lot of discussions around entrances and exits. Where do I want the actors to be entering and exiting? How much of the space do we want to use? We ended up using about maybe 2/3 of the space, bringing the set forward so it feels more immediate to the audience.
As we got on later and later with the process, kids got more and more involved. The overall shape of the set was something that my assistant, Sydney Herder, and I talked about.
Other aspects of the design with particularly the painting and the set decoration, the set dressing is what we call everything that kind of goes on the set. That Jeremy designated to a student, Maggie Leonard, who did a really incredible job. She chose colors and brought that color palette to me to approve, and we decided, what kind of color palette we wanted to help tell the story of the show. And Maggie did an incredible job of bringing that design concept into the painting of the set and the floor treatments. The floor, which, usually the floor is just painted black. We did a floor treatment for this where it was painted to look like a gym floor, but in a cartoon world. And it turned out so well. I'm so pleased. I would say scenic design would be my weakest element. And so I really rely on my team, not just Jeremy, but on his set crew to help me realize like my very vague kind of visions of what I want the world to be. Where we started when Jeremy and I first started talking about this in probably April of this year, it's gone through many different stages to get to the final product, which we see now today. I'm super psyched. I know most of you, but some of you I don't know. And we're going to start actually with wellness today. Miss Kim from Wellness has come in to just do a quick chat to talk about how we can all stay happy and healthy during this process, which is something that's important to us all. So come on up. The time commitment and dedication that you have to have a life in the theater is pretty extreme. And I always joke once we've started rehearsals that my actors and crew are just gonna be living at school. And this is where I live too. We are here, we get here, a lot of students and myself, we get here at 7:30 in the morning, and often we don't leave until 7:30 at night. And those are just our regular rehearsal days. We're gonna be collaborating a lot and working together on this.
At rehearsals, we, on like a weekly schedule, on Mondays, we usually get like some blocking done. On Tuesdays, we do a vocal rehearsal. We don't have Wednesdays. And on Thursdays and Fridays, it's usually like choreography and just kind of blocking.
We kind of go through and learn the different parts of the show and slowly stage the show scene by scene.
Okay, so maybe it's something like vice principal, they will let you principal, you can stand. Something like this, and let Mitch come and get you. So it doesn't have to be a fit. Gee, I wonder why. Sleuth, S-L-U-I-C-E, sleuth. That's correct.
There's a lot of like feedback from the actors. It's very like, it's not just Miss Kira directing us, it's we have our own input.
the way that the actors are interpreting the characters are extremely unique and individualized. For example, our actor who's playing Barfay, Faith, Barfay is usually this kind of slovenly, unkempt man, who's got, a lot of places the speech very forward and kind of nasally. And that interpretation just wouldn't have worked with the actor that I chose for Barfay. I really wanted to allow all of the actors, including Faith, to find what their expression is of the character using the text and the clues from the text, but then allowing them the freedom to explore within that. And so the Barfay that Faith has created is kind of this punk, angry guy. And it works so well within the context of the play, and it feels very authentic to the actor. I rarely want it to be all my vision and all of my ideas. I really love the process of working with the actors and allowing them to express themselves through the character. I know you have very busy lives, and I also trust that you're going to do your homework, because I know my students, and I know that you will put in the time on your own when it's convenient for you. If I have to call more rehearsal, though, I will, but I prefer for you to do it on your own terms so that you have time to do all the other things in your life, okay?
The sacrifices that I made to participate in the musical was like sometimes I would have to, my free time, because I enjoy being in there, but being in rehearsal, but it's also like I didn't have time to hang out with my friends after school or anything like that. And also I didn't sacrifice my grades because all my grades are still up, but I really had to communicate with my teachers and like get extensions, things like that, and really push and advocate for myself.
I think being a musical is something that like you have to take into account like a lot about your time and what you're gonna do tonight and what you have to push off and like stuff like that, because you're spending so much time at rehearsal and spending so much time putting this show together that like you just have to be aware of like your time, I guess.
Not just being here physically, but being here with your whole presence, and being here with a positive attitude. But I don't generally have a lot of problems with that, because if you're a theater kid, you want to be here. You want to be living here. You want to be working on this and be in the rehearsal process. For most actors, myself included, rehearsals are my favorite time. The performances are great. It's fun to have the audience, but I love the play that happens in the rehearsal room. It's so magical.
Tech Week is crazy. I knew going into it that it was going to be a lot of time at school, and people saying that it's one of the hardest weeks is not an understatement. It was a lot emotionally and mentally and physically. You weren't getting a lot of sleep.
Tech Week looks like organized chaos. And I mean that in the best way possible. It's our chance to actually get the lights up, get sound working.
Hello? Our tech crew comes in and they see a run of the show that the actors do that's called the design run. And that's really the beginning of Tech Week. It's when all of the technicians get to come in, see the show, see the movement of the show, and get an idea of what their role is going to be either backstage or in the booth. But what we decided to do this year with this particular production was to start Tech on Friday with it's called a SITS probe. Essentially, it's when you make sure that all of the music aspects are cohesive.
I will leave shit up. Yeah, leave shit up.
Then we start teching the lights. And that means setting all of the light cues, and that really helps to tell the story and helps the audience to focus their attention where I, as the director, want their attention to be focused. And that's a pretty long and tedious process, and the actors just have to kind of stand or sit on stage for hours while we futz with the cues, and then we have to go back and run it so that the stage management team learns how to call the cues and the timing.
Yes.
And then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we add costume pieces in and work with the costumes. We then build in makeup and hair to make sure that all aspects of the show are unified. You want the audience to be very clear on what the world is, and therefore we need all the technical aspects to be in alignment and to be unified. Thursday evening, we do an invited dress rehearsal where we invite, sometimes it's industry friends. I've also added in the parents. I think it's a really great opportunity for the parents to come and see the work that their kids have put in. And this is kind of the final piece of the puzzle, is getting those audience reactions and helping the actors understand, and the crew, particularly stage management, understand the tempo, pacing, and rhythm of the show when we have this additional character of the audience. And then we open the show on a Friday.
Tech Week is challenging. Let's start with that. You know, you're there from like 8 a.m. for school to like 10 p.m. at night, and a lot of the time you're like forgetting to eat. You're running around. You're in mic. You're in costume. You can't eat when you're in costume. There's so many rules, which are good because they're necessary. But you know, it's a lot to deal with mentally.
It can be a stressor for a lot of students in terms of managing their class workload, getting enough rest and nourishment during that time.
Getting home at like 9:30 and then having to leave for school at 7, like there's just not many hours in the day for you to get things done. So I had to like wake up early, do things at lunch, free blocks, just really utilize any free time you may have.
Tech Week especially was very rough for my grades. I definitely didn't get to hang out with friends that much. It was hard maintaining relationships in that time. Besides that, I found it really gratifying to work on the show, so I was willing to sacrifice free time in order to get better and in order to make sure the show ran more smoothly.
It's a challenge to get it all working, but when we get there, it's well worth the week of stress and just wanting to go home and cry at the end of the day.
Part of the fun of Tech Week is being together in the theater late at night. I don't know, there's something that feels very sacred to me about the Tech Week process. It's a very bonding experience for the actors and the crew.
So we get there at like 5. You get into costume, you do makeup, you do hair. We're all in this like one backstage room. It's loud. There's probably some musical playing in the background. It smells so much like hairspray. If you lit a match, the room would go up in flames. I'm so serious. But that's like the before show. And then once you're in costume and you're, about to go on stage, when the first character goes on, it's like hushed silence and then just fear. And then when you go on next, it's like, okay, you get yourself a little mental pep talk. Just go. And then when you're on, it's just like, not even you row a boat, you just do the same motion back and forth. It's like that.
It's a lot of emotions. It's like we've been working so hard, and especially after Tech Week, it's like I'm very tired, but I'm also very excited. And then I feel like looking out on the stage was like adrenaline, was like all that I could like think of. We all kind of like sat there and like told each other it was going to be okay, and we fed off each other's energy. And honestly, I think opening night was one of our best nights. Just everyone's energy was so high, and we'd all worked so hard for this moment, and it was really awesome.
Once the show is opened, my job is done, and then it's up to the actors and the crew to make that magic happen. So I'm really able to watch and enjoy most of the time. I see new things every performance, or, you know, I see actors trying new things or crews solving, you know, problems that arise, and I get to see how they handle those moments. And so it's actually really enjoyable and fun.
And kind of thinking back to the first rehearsal, and we all didn't really know what the plot was and didn't really know our parts or our characters, to opening night and closing night, where you kind of see the people like really get into their characters and fully like are enveloped in the world of the play.
I got some really good laughs out of the audience, and that just makes it so much fun. Just like when you hear the joke land and people are like laughing about it and sharing that with like an audience member too. That's amazing.
Audience reaction engagement adds a lot. It can take away a lot and it can put in a lot. One of our Thursday shows, we had an awful audience and the show was just not very good.
It's so disheartening saying a joke and the audience not laugh at it. It still is hard to work off of the energy the audience is giving when there's no energy there.
I think there's like, I don't know, I think it's a lot more than just like audience reception. It's really nice to have a good audience, but sometimes it's like I felt like it was just more for us and to like have that experience.
I think that my favorite part of the performance was just like being with like my castmates and like being able to just hang out with them, even though we were obviously like on stage most of the time. Like just I think the connection between us all was just like my favorite part about everything. I cried a lot on closing night, but that's just because like I'm a senior, so like it's sad to think that like I will never do another there will never be another chance for me to do a musical here. But like at the same time, everything has to come to an end at some point.
It's really bittersweet. Like being done with the musical, it was just really like it felt like a weight had been off of my shoulders. But it's really just sad to think that like I'm leaving the department that's like supported me throughout all of my years.
The most rewarding part of closing night, I think it's actually seeing the relief and like all of the emotion on everybody's face. It's really cool to see that they believe in themselves, and like that just encourages them to do more, and it's really rewarding to see that.
I don't think that this would be like even close to how good it was without how passionate everybody in the cast and crew was. It wouldn't work at all without passion. Everybody has to have some sort of thing driving them because it's just so like taxing.
Obviously, some people just do it for a grade or just do it, you know, to look on a college resume or something. But I think that the actual want to and the passion to want to create sets and technical or to want to act on stage, it really makes the production good. People that are just trying to do the bare minimum don't produce as good of products as people that genuinely love doing it and that have the passion for theater and the passion for technical, you know, design. I think that it honestly, it creates a totally different production. The passion is what pushes people to make the sacrifices and what pushes them to, you know, try harder and study those lines better. And I think that it plays a very key role in musical theater. I really feel happy that I did this and that the whole production ran as smoothly as it did for the most part. The sacrifices were definitely worth it for the end result of this musical.
The months and months and weeks it takes us to actually assemble a thing for all of the lights and sets and thing and sound, we have one day to tear it all down.
Strike is when basically all the actors and the tech kids come together and we all take down the set apart. We take the set apart and we like take down all the lights that we don't need to have up there anymore.
It looks like a lot of kids with hammers, drills, sometimes sledgehammers and crowbars, just taking everything apart.
At the end of closing night, everything's kind of like jumbled around because you just closed a show. But Strike, everyone comes back together, takes down the set. It's sad, but it's kind of like a final closure moment for the cast.
3,
I would say the most rewarding part, it's watching the freshmen come in who have no idea how any of this works. And in just 2 or 3 short years, they become so confident in what they can do and so confident in themselves that they could lead the younger generation.
Comparing my theater experience, even just the first few months of doing it in my senior year, comparing it to freshman year, it's been really crazy because I was at the bottom of the barrel. I was learning from everybody, and now I'm telling people what to do. Now I'm tech club president. Now I'm like have to recruit people for when I leave, and it's really crazy.
I would encourage others to take part of theater one way or another because I think it's just a huge community at the end of the day, and you meet a lot of people. Even if you're like an actor or you're working tech, you meet so many people and you really are able to find yourself and find your voice, and I think it's something that everyone should experience.
We talk about the commitment of all this, and it's hard. I'm not gonna lie, this is hard work for anybody, but you're not alone in doing this, and everybody here really forms a nice community of like, you need a snack, great, let me go get you something while you do the thing you need to do.
I mean, I just tried this and then I already have like, my best friends in the world. Just try things. You never know what's gonna happen.
The most rewarding part of being in theater education for me, I think, is my relationship with the students and watching my students really blossom and grow, even when it's hard. And I feel very, very grateful that I've landed in this career.
This was so worth all the sacrifices I made. I met so many more people and I love all of them. And seeing the musical, knowing what went into it is so much more rewarding than just watching it not knowing anything.
Even though you're enduring a lot of stress and hard times, you're doing it with the people, and I think the people are worth all of the pain that you might feel.
The sacrifices I made were, for this department have been completely worth it. I wouldn't change anything. Even in the days where I wanted to quit, and I wanted to be done with it, never come back into this theater, it's still kept, I kept coming back because it's just so worth it to be a part of something like this.
It takes love.